But doctor, I just got out of my coma. Damn it, you need to stay in the town longer. You need more time. Damn it, doctor, I can get up when I want to. I'm Garibaldi. You Gotta Check This Out was our last best hope for podcasting. A self-produced endeavor located in neutral internet territory. A place for free discussion about nerdy passions with Mike, Dre, and all their guests. A shining beacon in cyberspace, recorded bi-weekly via Zoom. It was the dawn of the second season, the year Babylon 5 haters, lovers, and newcomers come together. Listen in as we discuss key episodes from Babylon 5 Season 2. The year is 2025, and you gotta check this out. Hello and welcome to You Gotta Check This Out with Mike. I'm the Mike, and we've done some behind-the-scenes retooling of the podcast based on listener feedback. So, each week, I'll be giving Dre a link to a chat room with an AI mic so he thinks he's still recording the show. Meanwhile, I'm free to do whatever the hell I want. Dre, you're here. Were you listening for the past 30 seconds or so of the podcast?
No, I'm assuming just happy to start season 2. No changes, everything status quo, the way every show should be. Mike, happy to be back to another season of You've Got to Check This Out with
we
Mike
made it.
And Dre, not anybody else, right? Mike and Dre.
Mike and Dre, that's how it goes. Just the two of us, you and me, buddy, doing Babylon 5 and for 5 seasons, at least until we get through all of this.
All right.
So how you doing today, Dre?
I'm doing great. Well, let's talk about the fun here. So this is, of course, You've Got to Check This Out with Mike and Dre, where we look at something near and dear to one or both of our hearts, in this case, Babylon 5. We're going whole hog. So we've done Babylon 5 Season 1. We are starting Season 2 of Babylon 5, but we are doing The Geometry of Shadows, which is actually Episode 3 of Season 2. We're going all over the place. And, I mean, you chose an amazing guest. Thank you for, I guess, slumming it with us, 100% filling in for what we want on the show. Did someone check this out? And Mike, do you want to introduce them and we go from there?
Yes, this is Jaina Mistry. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Jaina, can you introduce yourself to our listeners? Tell us what you do.
Yes, so my name is Jaina Mistry. On a day-to-day side, I'm a marketer by trade, which is super boring. But when it comes to all things sci-fi and nerdy, I am a big Star Trek fan, Stargate fan. I love Firefly. Battlestar Galactica might be one of my all-time favorite sci-fi shows. The Expanse, I'm still trying to get into DS9. I'm like, I don't know, I think I'm like in the 4th episode or something like that. But I love all things TV. I love all things sci-fi. I have never seen Babylon 5, so this was an interesting thing for me to do.
Well, speaking of that, did you have any exposure to Babylon 5 at all before this? Like, I'm sure we didn't tell you about Babylon 5, and it's like, oh, I've never heard of that before. But was it just a mention?
So I knew there was something going on between Babylon 5 and DS9, like in the back of my mind, like being a sci-fi nerd. Like I knew there was something, I didn't know what. I knew the name of the creator of Babylon 5, J. Michael Straczynski. Probably butchering that.
Trick is JMS. He's got the three letter acronym name. You just go JMS. That's the easy fallback.
Exactly.
TIL. I knew about that. I knew it was like somewhere in space. It was like a space sci-fi show, but that's pretty much it. I had seen pictures of it, and it was very Star Trek to me in the sense like there were aliens in it, and there were weird shaped people, and it felt very Star Trek, but for whatever reason, I never got into it.
Yeah, the whole history of Babylon 5 is directly tied in with Deep Space Nine. We got into that pretty deeply on the last episode, but the short of it is JMS actually pitched his show to a bunch of networks, including Paramount and guys who took on Star Trek. They turned him down, but later on came out with Deep Space Nine. There's all in our mind. You can hear all about it on our last episode.
Well, Mike, do you want to do the opening act? Because I take this too long. So we've transitioned that off. So we've got an opening act, and then we'll talk this episode. And this one will go, it's less meaty than some previous ones we've done.
Previously on Babylon 5.
Yeah, well, we usually like to talk about the last couple episodes of Babylon 5 that happened since the last key episode on our show. And that would only cover the first 2 episodes of Season 2. The first one is Points of Departure. And the first time I watched this episode, it did not make much of an impression on me because it's mostly just Sheridan getting introduced to the crew. He comes aboard and you get a little scene with the new captain talking to everybody on the ship, and they kind of explain where he came from, how he used to be a military captain of the Agamemnon and was kind of respected by the government. But you slowly find out that he was sneakily brought in by President Santiago, who was assassinated at the end of last season, who thought that Sheridan would seem like more of a brash military guy and could sell it to more of the fascist elements on Earth that he could see coming up. But when Sheridan was actually there, he found diplomatic solutions to a lot of his problems and would work through things the way that Santiago wanted.
I'm going to take the mic from Mike, haha. Then we got episode 2, which is Revelations again. We're having a soft reboot where we really have to introduce Boxleitner. That's why we're starting on episode 3. But episode 2, his sister shows up to be like, get over your dead wife, because that's part of Sheridan's backstory. Sheridan's wife has died. He has been depressed. His sister shows up and is just like, your wife's dead. Just get over your dead wife. And it's really out of place, but it is in part because they are not subtly pointing us towards a romance between Sheridan and Delenn. I don't know if that doesn't really appear in this episode at all.
No, she's still in the chrysalis during this episode, or at the beginning.
Well, it's actually, I think, last one is what happened. So, yeah, we get Delenn, or Lanier had revealed the plot to Sheridan, not unceremoniously at episode 1. Delenn emerges from the cocoon in episode 2. Sheridan gets told, hey, get over your dead wife. And then that leads us to where we are now with what is already getting fascinating about Sheridan. He presents as this military, when he's introduced there, they call him Star Killer. He fought the Minbari. His very first battle in that first episode is great. And I am curious. So, Jaina, how much of Babylon 5 in preparation for this show did you watch? With the caveat, just for listeners, the only requirement we give any guest is the episode we are covering. So you can say just the episode, you can do more, but I'm very curious to see how much homework you did for this.
So I watched that one episode. That was the first entry point, and I emailed Mike, and I was like, I think I'm kind of into this. And he sent me a couple more episodes. I only managed to watch one of them from season 1. Yeah, that was all I watched. That was my one foray into Babylon 5, and it's kind of, I kind of want to watch more.
Was that Signs Importance? Was that the one you watched?
I think it was Signs Importance, yeah.
That's
a good intro.
If you still want to watch, that's interesting, because, we talked this when we did the Signs Importance episode. Noticed after the fact that episode has a lot of world building, but it's not as exciting of an episode as I remembered. And this episode has some real weak seams. We're going to talk things that don't age well, like bad CGI. So if we kept your interest on those two, and I guess that's also another good question to ask up top, just like, so you said you want to keep watching, but what did you think of the episode, with the caveat you didn't grow up on this like me and Mike did?
It was very strange. Like, I kind of aligned it to, it was very similar to like old British sci-fi shows like Red Dwarf and Blake 7. It felt like that was a lot before that. And I hadn't really watched a lot of that. That was just kind of random things that I was on TV when I was a kid. So it kind of reminded me a little bit of that. The CG, I was like, whoa, those are some graphics there. Those are some really awesome graphics. That was one thing that really stood out to me. But I don't know I think that there was a couple of the characters that made me feel like, oh, I could get into these characters. I can't remember Doyle, I think one of them, the security dude. And like the core characters, they kind of spoke to me, and I was like, no, I think I could get into this, and I can put like the dodgy CG and some of the weird storylines that are going on, and the Goomba-like aliens there that reminded me of the Goombas from Super Mario Brothers.
Super Mario Brothers,
yes. That heck of a pull, yes.
Yes, yeah, they totally remind me of that, and I was like, no, I can probably still get into this. I think there's, again, I get nostalgia, like one feels like nostalgia watching kind of not so perfect sci-fi, because I know how amazing sci-fi is as a genre, so I can accept it for what it is, I guess.
Absolutely putting it in like the Red Dwarf, Doctor Who, as opposed to Star Trek level of sci-fi gives it. And you're right, at this point, the characters are much better, because Mike and I kind of watched Jerry Doyle, as an example, who plays the security chief Garibaldi. He's not an actor by trade. Like, JMS liked him as like, he's our guy, and he really does fill into the role. And by season 2, he's finding himself more. And of course, it's very funny when you have the mirror off court, on court, where his real world personality ends up being reflected so well in the show that his like, I don't give a damn. Well, that's what the actor feels like too. So he finally just leans into it, as opposed to being nervous about being an actor. All right. So Mike, you ready for me to get going? And we'll see how many times the Sonic music plays.
Yes, it's time to get into the episode, Dre.
Yeah, what he said.
All right, so again, we're finally starting to get the show going after we've had not one, but 2 episodes to introduce us that, hey, Sheridan's our new captain. It's cool. He's our new captain. It's cool. It's cool. You have to tell the fans because, again, fan user groups go nuts, as you're aware. So one of the storylines on last season was Michael Garibaldi was shot in the back by his second in command while attempting to stop an assassination of a president. He fails. He's in a coma. He wakes up and everything's changed. His best friend has left the station and been reassigned. He wasn't able to stop the assassination. Delen's a butterfly. What all is going on? And he's kind of saying he doesn't know what to do. And Dr. Franklin is kind of like trying to talk him back into it. And he's going, I don't really know if I want to do that. It will be the case that Garibaldi and Franklin are 2 characters that play really well and have a lot of storylines together. So when we're talking about meeting characters, that is a good introduction.
Yeah, I thought this scene was so melodramatic, too. I'm reading through my notes again. It felt like it was a soap opera between them. But, Doctor, I just got out of my coma. Damn it, you need to stay in the down longer. You need more time. Damn it, Doctor, I can get up when I want to. I'm Garibaldi. And there's like a slow zoom slowly in on the Doctor's face as they end and switch scenes.
And the Doctor was very like what all Doctor characters are, like matter of fact and cold and blunt and like. Once in a while, I'm waiting for a doctor to be like super warm and fluffy and kind and the immediate like. But I guess there have been some of those. But yeah, this one was just like your typical doctor, and I was like, okay, this is who we're getting. Might as well be a hologram.
Franklin never has time for this shit, no matter what.
They do lead into Garibaldi warming. You know, they play that plot multiple times over the course of the series, where it's just like Garibaldi warms his cold heart. That has to happen. And it is worth noting that Biggs, I think, is the actor's name. He came from soap operas as a doctor. So, like, he's staying kind of in character.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
All right. Now we get to the Centauri. We get Lord Rifa. We get Londo. We get Veer being his hair cutter. So, for those who don't remember, the Centauri are the people with the peacock, like, hair that goes up.
Big in their culture. Like, the higher the hair, the more stature they have in the government.
Yeah, this episode has a lot of solid takes on the silly things we place for status and factions, which is unfortunately very topical. Londo has partnered with Mr. Morden, who is representing the Shadows, this ominous force that we don't know anything about. They have been destroying the Narn, this lizard faction that we don't really see much of this episode, but essentially you've got this big war going on that's starting to brew. Londo has gotten credit for a major strike. And now Lord Rifa is coming up to say, hey, if we team up, we could take over the government. Doesn't that sound like fun? And it is amusing because Londo initially is kind of going, hey, I don't feel good about it. That's not great. And you're like, okay, good, Londo. Are you going to listen to your conscience? And then, like, spoiler alert to this episode, 2 scenes later, he's like, you know what? Actually, maybe we should take over and maybe I should get maybe I should get a symbolic thing that shows why I should be king.
Why is it the wacky aliens are the ones that want to like do the weird shit with the government and want to take over things? Like, why can't they just be like regular looking? Why do they have like these massive, like either like things on their heads?
Yeah, I was just going to ask your impression of them because they're like supposed to be the future colonists. They're like an empire on the decline. And they're partnering up with the Shadows to try and destroy these other civilizations. But yeah, they're picked up right away on that. They are the goofiest guys.
And is that to do with how the show has aged pretty badly? Maybe, I don't know, like 30 years ago, Jaina would have thought differently to that. But like when I saw that, I was like, oh no, these are goofy. And I was actually, when I was rewatching the episode this evening with my husband, he was washing up and he came back and he saw me watching it. And he was like, this alien, Londo, I think was the right one, reminded him of Otto, the hotel manager from Malcolm in the Middle, when like Francis was out at a hotel in like New Mexico or something like that. Like the accent and something like the way his mannerisms things were. And I was like, and then once he said that, I couldn't unsee that. And I was like, oh, great. Now this is just going to be like, all I can think of him is comedic relief.
Yeah, I always got really strong Grandpa Munster energy.
Yes.
Or the vampire from Gremlins 2, whoever that guy is in the videos. Yeah, it's that like
with the like canine teeth and yeah.
But I mean, I think that's very much intentional because obviously it's not hard that there's a direct comparison to like the British. JMS loves history, and there's going to be a lot of World War II stuff as the season progresses. And I think he does enjoy that these people are goofy. They have silly traditions. They have status based on silly things. Then, hey, guess what? You give them a bunch of spaceships and a reason to hate. They can do a lot of harm.
They're going to be the genocide race.
Spoiler alert. They previous and future genociders. All right. Now, this is a fun scene, and curse you because Mike put a pun related to this. So we have the Drazi. The Drazi have gotten into a big fight, and so they're the artichoke heads is what they're called. So literally, you look at them, their head does look like an artichoke. They're green. It's one of the two things. When you asked about the Centauri, the peacock feathered people, essentially the two tricks you do on this show is that you wind up with all humanoid aliens and either lots of prosthetics or silly hair. Those are the two ways to go. And so the Centauri get the silly hair, then we get the mega prosthetics. And so for whatever reason, the Drazi have really, really been fighting. And then we get to another thing, which is Londo sees a techno mage. And it's a bald dude that kind of has a vampire cape. It is acted by the voice of Mr. Freeze on Batman the Animated Series. So this guy did both that and I got to get his name. I'll make sure to do that. Like in the span, in the span, because he did Mr. Freeze, which won awards on Batman the Animated Series for like Heart of Ice, right? That was, I think, the year before, and then he did this. So that actor is amazing, but he's a bald guy that kind of is dressed almost like a vampire. And the premise is they are people that have mastered technology so well that it appears like magic. And Londo recognizes them and says they're a bad omen because if you see a bunch of them on the move together, it doesn't mean anything good. And there are three of them. But then he also says, hey, back in the day, an emperor of Centauri Prime was, blessed by a techno mage. And if I can do that, then it will really help my ascension, which happened, two scenes ago. He was wondering, should he do it? And then he's like, techno mages are there. I got to do it.
Yeah, it's a pretty quick justification, like within the episode for this group of aliens we've never seen, but it's very kind of pat how it just comes together.
Especially as he said, it was a bad omen to see multiple of them, and then suddenly he's like, no, I can turn this against, like, this will be good for me. And I was like,
yes,
dude, are you thinking this through, or are you just
I didn't make that connection,
winging it right now?
That's perfect though. That's exactly what JMS does with so much of it. He'll like have them say one thing and the opposite to show through their actions to show what's really going on.
It was, I thought that I like the idea. The idea of the technomage was kind of cool to me because it does make sense, like the whole idea, like historically as well, like we've always thought of like magic, but truly it is science, or like even religious and culturally things, like there are things that people do for religion, you're like, why do you do that? And it's like, actually it's all based in science, and it's kind of, there's a reason to it. So I kind of like that, but the way that they're presented, it was kind of corny and kind of cheesy, and the kind of like the voice didn't match how grand he thought I should have been, like, in my head. Like if I closed my eyes and watched the scene with the techno mage, that was kind of the first one that was introduced, I was like, oh, it's like really like this deep gravitas sort of thing, and you open your eyes and like,
what was Ben Stiller's character on Arrested Development, the something wonder? He reminded me of I think secretly he's that kind of magician who's like setting up and waiting to pop out at the last minute to a surprise.
It's Michael Ansar as the actor, and that is the funny thing. Babylon 5 notoriously was like on a shoestring budget. Funny enough, he does go on to play on Deep Space Nine. So Star Trek has Star Trek money. Babylon 5 was filmed in like an abandoned hot tub factory at some point, I recall, I think is what they said.
I haven't heard that.
Wow.
It was, I think JMS mentions that on some of the director's commentary. So I like your point. It's going, we don't have the special effects to make this techno mage look great. And that's, we've discussed that a lot in this show. Some of the props that are supposed to be relics or major things were like, yeah, Mike and Karen ruined the Valuron one last season. They're like, that's a gyroscope. And I was like, yeah, the most valuable relic in all of Centauri is a gyroscope. You nailed it.
With some bling on it, they patched up to it.
But the voice, you're right. I think that is right. Is like, that's why this episode kind of plays, because the way techno mages are presented, their costumes are ridiculous. Spoiler alert, their technology is ridiculous. But you have that amazing gravitas voice that literally is, I think maybe Emmy Award winning for Mr. Freeze.
Yeah. Well, we had like this next scene where it's kind of half a scene transition where one of the techno mages is walking up to another one and does this thing in the air and like with this hieroglyph comes up like
It looked like, wasn't it math symbols? Wasn't that like omega and function or something?
But was that like, was he saying, yes, I'm a techno mage too? Or was it like a secret thing? Because like these guys, there's only 3 of them. They got to know each other already. Like, what was that for?
Unclear. That was not a smooth. Yeah, I can't remember if that happens before
Like in front of
or after
everybody.
the next scene.
They're just performative, like, yeah, look what I can do. Hey, everybody, you see this? Wavy things their hands.
To be fair,
this way.
yeah, that works too. Like techno mage could be like stage musicians. Like, yes, great, that is my card. I got.
They come off so much like they should just be stage magicians, just like creepy stage magicians.
Yes.
All right. What we do get is, and curse you, Mike. Mike had a pun here. He called them the Drazy, so it's the Drazy. Nicely done, Mike.
I'll get you a purple sash, and then I'll get myself a green one. We'll have some fun.
All right. Spoiler alert for this episode, but
Bring us the Drazi fight.
we get a lot of really clever world building in this next scene because we find out the Drazi fight every 5 years. Captain Sheridan, the new captain, is talking to his second in command, Susan Ivanova, and he says, by the way, you're promoted, you've deserved it. And she's like, fantastic. And he's like, by the way, this is really tough. I don't want to deal with it. Do you want to deal with it, Commander, who just got promoted? Right after this scene, we see Londo talking to Veer, and he's got his second in command. But instead of being like, hey, I'm going to give you something nice and this would help your career, he's like, I should get blessed by the techno mage. Veer, go make it happen. I did like something minor in this, which shows is Veer had a very prescient, clever, thoughtful like comment in the middle because Londo's asking, he's like, do you believe in fate? And Veer gives this idea that I like really resonated, which is like, yeah, fate's like a current, and you know, you have things that are pulling you in the good way and the bad way, and you don't know which are which, and it's hard to do. Maybe foreshadowing for Londo. And Londo's like, yeah, that's great. Anyway, go get me the techno mage thing. So it is funny. This is a lot of world building where Veer is clearly bumbling in a buffoon. He's going to end the scene on a slapstick note. He's going to drink some alcohol and pass out. Very Back to the Future Part 3, right? Whereas, but in the midst of that, you're like, oh, he's actually pretty clever and thoughtful, but Londo's not paying attention to him. And then we see Londo so we see like 3 next to each other. We see Sheridan next to Londo. Sheridan is very kind and friendly and manipulative. Londo is mean and manipulative. Veer is like, Veer and Londo are both bumbling. Veer is more thoughtful, but that's what we get there. And yeah, we get the thing going full steam ahead. And then we do get another one. Sheridan goes to Garibaldi and basically says, hey, you're the chief of security. I hear good things. Garibaldi's, like that dog, right? Let's just be honest. He's totally playing the dog that doesn't trust the new owner. And Sheridan's going, you can trust me. And I did listen to behind the scenes on this episode, and the actors were all saying that Bruce Boxleitner, who played Sheridan, they called him the Golden Retriever because both the actor and the character just seem so gung-ho. They're new to this. They're happy. They're excited. And I do think that's important. But he's like, come back to work. I'll leave it open as long as I can.
Yeah.
Can I go back to this slapstick moment for a second? Because that threw me. I was like, I didn't understand what tone the show is trying to be when that moment happened. And I was like, is this meant to be funny? Is this meant to be like a comedy? Like it felt so out of place. So I just kept expecting another weird slapstick moment to occur. And so there was maybe I think there was maybe 1 or 2 more, but it totally threw me off when the scene ended that way. I was like, maybe I made a wrong decision of wanting to watch more Babylon 5.
Yeah, that's not a common occurrence like that Veer moment.
I think sometimes they do lean into, as we mentioned, Stephen Franklin is played by Biggs, who was a soap opera actor, and they lean into that. Of course, Veer is played by, Flounder from Animal House, so they kind of play into that. So I think sometimes JMS will lean on the things, and I think that kind of goes away. And this may be giving him too much credit, but I think that scene was almost very intentional to go I am going to show you in season 2 how important Veer is, And by the way, I'm going to make you all forget it, because he even said on like the use note grips, he would do the forums as well, where there were multiple times he's like, by the way, this was planted in that scene, but you probably all missed it because I did this instead. So it could be him also trying to do exactly that, throw you off the scent, because you're supposed to know Veer is important, but he wants you not to think he's important. And that's a hard thing to pull if he's doing these brilliant monologues. Now we run into one of the most clever parts of this episode. I thought this was really cool. We got the green and purple. So we find out the Drazi, these aliens who are having riots on the station that Ivanova has been tasked with cleaning up. They go, here's how it works. Every year on our planet, we have a two-party system where the rules don't matter and we don't care what we stand for. It's just what party you're in. Sorry, just thinking about modern U.S. It just hits too close to home. So anyway, so Ivanova's like, okay, well, explain this two-party system to me. Clearly you have ideals and things you stand for. They go, nope. We put a bunch of sashes in a big bucket. Some people pull out green. Some people pull out purple. We're now on opposite sides. If you pull out the sash with the special, like, something on it, you're the leader. And we're going to just fight.
And it's like the Starbelly Sneech philosophy, where there's the Starbellies, the non-Starbellies, except in this case, there is nothing better about the ones with stars. They're just two colors that have nothing different.
Completely arbitrary. And yeah, Ivanova pokes her. She's like, surely it's something like, nope, green, purple. And then this is clever on two ways. She pulls a sash off of one and puts it on another and says, if I do that, are you just going to change sides? And it's like, yeah, it's almost like if Lyndon Johnson gives black people voting rights, she'll just completely switch sides. That's what she's clearly doing there. Sorry, I keep going political. It's too easy.
It's a political episode. Green and purple.
Yeah,
green.
Purple. Yeah, but then they get in a big fight, and it turns out that Claudia Christian, the actress, had actually broken her foot in 3 parts before this episode. Something JMS is notorious for is, how do you write external things into your show and keep the flow going? Your lead actor has to leave with mental illness. How do you keep the show going? Your second lead actor breaks their foot. How do you keep the show going? And he's like, yeah, I'll just do it this way. And it flows perfectly, and it makes complete sense that she's hobbling around on a crutch for the next few episodes.
And I guess because they were on a shoestring budget, it's not as if they could just like, we got to wait for her to heal up and then we'll just stop production. Like, they've got to keep rolling on it because they've got no choice.
Yeah, it's the usual thing where they'd have her she'd have to be in a chair sitting in every scene, or if like they had to take care of pregnancies on some by like holding big purses in front of them. It's that kind of thing.
It's funny to talk the 90s. Sorry to keep coming back to Buffy, but I mean, I remember all of our favorite shows. I mean, back in the day, our shows used to be over 20 episodes. I think they were both 26 episode seasons. And you hear about both, and they're like, we were shooting crazy hours and we were going, full burn, because if you're going to get a weekly show, 26, right? If it's a weekly show, I'll do the math for you. 26 out of 52. That is literally half the year. And they were doing it that. It's like, yeah, you can't stop filming. You've just got to keep going. And if something happens, you just got to make it work on the set. So very common for the 90s. So we get into a 90s scene. This belongs straight in Buffy, by the way. Mike titled this Veer Meets a Monster.
Veer meets a monster.
So Veer goes to meet the techno mage. This monster shows up and is like, "Rawr!" And Veer's like, hey, I gotta meet you. And he keeps going forward. And the guy's like, you don't scare easily. And the joke he says is like, I work for Londa Malari. I learned not to be scared. And the real answer is, no, that was really stupid, like really bad. Like, even for 1992, the CGI here was bad. The premise of the techno mage is they have this technology that can generate illusions and control technology and do all these amazing things. Later in the episode, they actually do some clever stuff with that makes sense. But here, this is our first introduction to the techno mage flexing, and it's to make the mummy-like CGI monster appear in front of Veer Koto. And he's just like, cool. Can you please give me your blessing? And the guy's like, well, I'll meet with
I probably would have done the same thing.
When the monster jumps out and says, Tony Wonder. That was my favorite part.
I would have done the same. It was very unimpressive. But it did remind me a lot of season 1 Buffy CG, but worse. And I was like, is this really happening? Is this what I'm watching right now? And again, like, it was moments like that. And I was like, oh, maybe I don't need to watch more of this, but like little bits I picked up. But that was
we have a Jaina index. I'll go. It's like going one way under the needles. Oh, that's a good. Oh, the needle's back down to not watch it again.
But some of that is, I think, does land when you're like, can you believe this was like, this is going to have some amazing scenes and some amazing acting. they're really coming to their own. And then you have scenes like that in the middle of the slapstick thing. I mean, so far, 2 scenes with Veer in them are just completely out of place, and I agree, throw you out. We get next scene, we just keeping the plot going along. Ivanova comes back and goes, "They broke my foot. I'm upset with the Drazi." Sheridan's like, "Well, you're going to keep at it?" She goes, "Yeah." And again, we're just establishing Sheridan's a good motivator. Ivanova's tenacious. This is just a good scene building one. Now we get into what becomes pretty common. Veer often plays the Jiminy Cricket character to Londo. So he goes back to Londo and says, "Look, man, the techno mages don't want this. We should go. You should leave this alone. Londo, stay away from that dangerous thing that'll turn you into a war criminal." And Londo is not having it, and he's going to go try and find someone who will listen to, and he's going to head to Sheridan. Before we get that, though, we get Garibaldi again talking to his second in command, who the guy from Brooklyn. I do love this. We have accents galore on the show, and then of course, just with humans, just like a random guy from Brooklyn is like the second in command of security.
Yeah, he's like, "Hey, Garibaldi, how you doing? You're getting back into action.
You're gonna play some stickball with the guys." Yeah.
Yeah, the guys are all waiting for you. We got the biggest pizza you never seen back at the base.
It was great.
Perfect. That's exactly what happened.
Pretty much.
No notes, Mike.
Pretty much.
From Mike.
Mike reenacts famous scenes from Babylon 5.
I'd watch that.
Keeping us in mind that Garibaldi's back in action. Or is being, will he come back, won't he? JMS does this a lot in shows.
I think he's coming back, Dre. He's got to come back with the boys.
Yeah. Exactly.
Like the scene with Londo and Veer, it just made me think of Londo as just the dumbest guy ever. And his head doesn't help. But when you say like he's got like this big like thing that's going on and he's got like this big future, and I was like, I couldn't reconcile that with what I'd seen, because I was like, but he's positioned as such an idiot in this show.
It's mostly because he's a pawn. It's especially because you saw Sign's Importance when he first talks to Morden.
Yeah.
There, it really comes through how much he is being used by all these different nations over time, and he's just like the fool falling up in Centauri world.
And I mean, where could a fool with bad hair ever ascend to the top of the ranks? Again, this is just such a depressing episode 30 years in. This is 30 years ago. I am so angry.
Yeah, man, it's supposed to be escapist sci-fi. Nah, we think about shit.
All right. So then we do see the two master manipulators at work. Londo goes to Sheridan and says, "Sheridan, the techno mages are here. You should be wary of them. My people have dealings with them. You should trust me." For what it's worth, if you haven't been watching the show, it comes across very clear that Londo is being very duplicitous here. If you have watched the show, this is not the first time where he has done the, "Hey, we know, we can help," and then after the fact, you're just like, oh, he's just inserting himself into the story. After the fact, so spoilers, we do get the impression that Sheridan knows for a fact Londo is not sincere, but Sheridan's going, if I use Londo to be the shield, I can interact with the techno mages, and then additionally now I have a diplomat that's going to owe me a favor if he's lying to me. So Sheridan in this episode, just the entire way through, we see time and time again his ability to play people, but do it in like a puppy dog way, to be very, friendly, etc. Okay, Mike, I got a question for you. We got scene 14 coming up. I'm going to ask the question first, then introduce the scene. So I'll ask the question. Mike will have to ruminate on it while I reflect the scene, and then we'll do it. Does this count as a sucker punch, Mike? So scene 14. Ivanova comes in. She's got to deal with the Drazi, the fighting blues and purple, or greens and purples, not blues and purples, greens and purples, comes in, and we have escalated the ante. The green Drazi have killed a bunch of purple ones. They went from fighting to killing. Is a sucker punch or not? Try and trick them into killing.
So this is where they just started, because before this, we hear that they don't kill each other. They just kind of knock each other out to get points. But at this point, the green Drazi, they just decide to go ham and start killing as many purples as they can. If we're going to have a sucker punch, there has to be a punchee, a punch-ah, and a viewer. In this case, the viewer is the cameras that we do see them get punched. All of Greens did not see this coming. It's a severe escalation of tactics from the Drazi. Yeah, I think I am going to go ahead and give the green Drazi as a team sucker punch to the purples.
Yes, I am applauding murder on a show. This is what you've done to me with your board game rules, Mike. Thank you so much for that.
Hey, rules is rules. I don't make them. I just make them and enforce them.
Okay, now we get to a fun scene. And this is, the interesting part of Londo being, you nailed it, Jaina, just the most bumbling, because we get Sheridan, Londo, the Technomage in a room together. And Londo, just hilariously bad, but he's supposed to be, plants a camera in the leader of the space station's cabinet, like in his office, and he wants to get a gesture of goodwill from the Technomage. And the Technomage basically says, like, it's so hilarious because Technomage is like, FYI, you're not just doing, like, I'm going to give you an out. He's like, you're not, like, recording this with a camera over there for some reason of your own. I'm going to do this. But yeah, like, parents are aware of this with a kid where you're just like, okay.
Yeah.
I'll do this, but I'm going to ask you first, right? You're not lying to me. And the kid's like,
Lando
no.
almost does
like,
the thing where, like, he says, like, did you put a thing anywhere? And Lando, like, looks behind him, like, someone else? Are you talking to someone? I wouldn't do that.
All right.
It was such a kind of, I was like, oh, is this playing out how I think it's playing out? Yep, exactly how I'm playing out. And I was like,
well, they
seriously?
had the close-up of him putting the bug down. They could have made it more sketchy.
He tapped it. Didn't he tap it as well? He was like, oh, I'm just going to pet this little thing that I put right here in full view.
Test it. Okay, the bug is ready. Now I'm going to go board and talk to the Technomage.
Which kind of like, I'm looking at it through this one lens of this one episode. Was there any expectation of the intelligence of the audience who's watching Babylon 5? Because like sometimes you get shows tailored to like, oh, we know this is just like people aren't really going to care and they're just going to watch it for the popcorn fun of it. Was there anything like that thought of around Babylon 5 of like who the audience, who they wanted to watch it essentially and cater to them?
I think, I mean, like I'm saying, JMS, I think, loved planting things. And what you're already picking up on, Londo's arc is going to be huge. Londo being a bumbling buffoon that seems completely harmless and suddenly being one of the most feared people is a character arc. And the show episode 1 started with Jakar, who's played by Andreas Katsoulis, who actually played a Romulan on Star Trek, started with him being the clear Romulan evil villain. You should fear this person, and goes on to be someone very lovable. That was very intentional. So when you're asking scenes like this, you're like, did he have an audience in mind? Yes, the answer is actually, to stay in the magician theme, he had the audience 2 years in mind because he wanted to be able to, in 2 years, when people say, I didn't see this coming, blah, 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 and he can just go, hey, by the way, remember that scene that you thought he was silly? Magic.
I love it. I love it when they do, when show creators do things like that. It's like, oh, holy shit. And then you're just going to watch it all over again because you want to watch all the things that you thought you missed first time around. You're like, yeah, it was right there in front of my face.
Yep. Well, we were saying like JMS, like, he made the entire thing as to be seen as a novel over 5 seasons. So there is a lot of stuff he puts down, even with losing the main character in between season 1 and 2.
Very smart.
In some ways, you're the annoying fan because you're doing exactly what you'd expect because you're like, hey, JMS, that box in the corner seems really out of place. Do you want me to move that box? And he's like, just don't touch the box. Don't pay attention to the box. You're like, but you put the box there. And
I'm going to look at it. I want to see it.
And I've heard this, magicians have said this like about children, actually. It's like children are the worst audience members because an adult, you say, look over there. And the kid looks at it and is like, why is your shoe weird? And it's like, no, you're looking over there. It's like, no, I'm looking at your shoe, which is clearly weird. So you are clearly seeing why are Londo and Veer, why do they seem out of place? And it's because JMS is planting seeds of what's coming. All right. We get some of the Technomage back and forth. And this is something really key that I do love about the universe of Babylon 5, which is the Technomages seem really powerful. We actually do see some power because in this episode, there's that bug and the Technomage, like, he's scary. This, like, they should have done this instead of like the fake thing to Veer. This Technomage just like picks up Londo, blows up his camera, like his camera blows up, but it's, like practical effect and looks good. And just is like, has the Mr. Freeze voice and he is terrifying. And like, we finally get like, this Technomage is scary. The other ones we haven't been. So we have a super powerful faction in the universe. And what they're like is like, we need to leave because we have a bunch of information and bad stuff is coming, which we're seeing. So this is like good world building. And I like it on 2 fronts, which is the Babylon 5 universe has these super powerful races. And oftentimes, Mike, they're either apathetic or they don't want to get involved or they just leave. And I think that's really important.
Yeah.
This whole technology is like, leave us alone. All we want to do is go away.
And you're like,
It's
oh,
Gandalf. It's the wizards.
Techno Space Gandolf.
and then we do get some fun, I think these have improved from season 1, Mike, to like almost Star Trek philosophical, because we do have a philosophical scene between the Techno Mage and Sheridan where he's like, well, do you think we're magic? And he's like,
yeah, they literalize a lot that we've been talking about. Just, is it magic or is it technology? And at what point does magic become technology? Like JMS wrote for Thor for a long time and talked about that specific thing on his run. He's always been obsessed with that as a theme.
Yeah, and so we actually, and all I'm saying is like Babylon 5 has had some of these, but we noted in season 1 they'd seem ham-fisted or out of place. But this one organically flows where, is it magic? Is it technology? Well, the station, the only way you could describe it to people in the past, as recently as, the 1800s would be magic. And then they have all the practical effects with the techno mages are good. The CGI is dog, whatever. But so... Sheridan's talking about his dad and loving orange blossoms. At the very end, the techno mage just like hands something in his hands. He opens it up and it's an orange blossom. So this techno mage, that is very stage magician-y magic, but it plays much.
Wonder.
Yeah.
Thanks, Mike.
You're welcome, Dre.
All right. So next scene, this is where it gets bad. It gets escalated even further. So Ivanova goes to the green draws and is like, what? You can't, you're killing people. What are you? No, like, what are you doing? And they're like, don't worry, look, we got this. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to kidnap you, second in command on the station. We're going to hijack your comm link. We're going to call all the purple Drazi into an airlock, and we're going to space them all. Isn't this a brilliant plan?
Yeah, and then they totally Osmandius her, and it's like when she says she's not going to go along.
And they're like, yeah, we already did it.
We already did it.
Yeah. And it's like, wow, that's like, man, that escalated quickly. I do feel, that's the other question, like watching this first time, Jada, like I feel this plot, like watching it second or third time, played really well.
Yeah, I think it felt, oh yeah, this makes sense. But when I first watched, I was like, wait a minute, this is going real fast. Is this, like, how do they so easily kidnap the second in command? Like, that threw me. I was like, I've watched sci-fi shit. Like, that does not happen.
I don't know. I think it goes to, because they kind of address later on, not to skip ahead too much, but how the rules are still in flux with what even this whole green versus purple thing is, because this is ancient rules that they've had along for a long time before they even met other species. So it comes in more literally later, but I think they're all kind of like playing as we go, because we already know that this particular cycle is the first one where they're just mass murdering each other because they just decided, well, we're on a spaceship, we can do that now.
Although I would say this is a trope that has come up several times on this show, and you're saying the same, Dana, is like future science fiction shows oddly have worse security than, I've said this before, Target did in the 90s for me. The Techno Mage and Londo are the first two people to think about cameras, because that was the other part. I forgot to mention that in the scene. The Techno Mage proves Londo is cheating, and then Londo's like, why are you calling me a cheater? And the Techno Mage like flips a switch and he has a hologram of Veer talking, and he's like, you recorded me, I recorded you, we're allowed to record. And the captain of this station doesn't think maybe we should have security cameras, because that's the point. They're like, we've lost Ivanova, and it's like, where is she? It's, if only you had cameras that could easily be placed everywhere, and they're not. So I do agree that why did she get kidnapped is weird, but unfortunately, I'll say that does seem to align. Star Trek, it happens all the time. They get by war of people that don't. But we're saying the things that age poorly, this is a sci-fi trope that ages horrendously bad.
Yeah, well, we've already gotten into the people getting onto the bridge in other episodes where the Miss Piggy ISN reporter had to be taken off the bridge.
That's super duper common. Now, here's the thing. We've been asking, is Garibaldi going to come back? Lou's been asking if Garibaldi is going to come back. If only Garibaldi had a way to prove himself. And luckily enough, turns out Ivanova's asked some people to go to a specific place. And Garibaldi goes, wait, did she use her voice or did she just use the comm link? And they're like, well, it was her comm link, so we didn't suspect anything. And he's like, there's no reason. So we do actually get that. That's lucky, bro. The next scene, at least one person on the station is proficient to go like, why would she be over there? Why is this happening? That something is going wrong.
Yeah, well, that was Garibaldi for a reason. He's been internally saying, like, can I get back into action? That's what those other scenes have been going. So they needed to kind of give Garibaldi that scene. Oh, he's the one who knows what's going on because she didn't use her comm link.
Now, I'm sorry to keep putting you on the spot, Jaina, but this one I have to know as a first-time viewer. To get out of this scene, Garibaldi pretends to be a 30s or 40s used salesperson, and he knocks on the door of this future alien race, and then
Yeah, he does a little improv routine there. He's like, I can work on my improv skills for these.
I was so confused in that moment because I was like, wait a minute, is this the Drazi's like home? Do they like live here? Or, like, are they used to people coming door to door and trying to sell them things? Is this normal in this world? Is this what happens on Babylon 5? Yeah, this whole scene, I guess I just watch it and see what happens because this does not fit in right here.
He wasn't even reinstated yet, was he, at this point?
Yeah. But here's what annoys me. You're on a space station, right, which has limited supplies. The reintroduction of door-to-door salespeople in this universe makes sense. I am curious because you said that. You said, are they used to people knocking on their doors? And you're like, yeah, you would be. You're stuck on a space station. You don't have much regular stuff. People that just came on would be like, my child just got these brand new Drazi action figures from this world. Are you in? Door-to-door salespeople in the Babylon 5 universe makes sense.
Yeah,
Garibaldi being in an improv troupe makes sense. I am angry that the scene sticks out like a sore thumb. It didn't age well. But if you think about it, it makes sense. And I am kind of furious now.
We talk about that a lot compared to Star Trek, where this is not a post-scarcity society. That's one of the big differences that JMS keeps bringing it into Babylon 5. So, yeah, it makes complete sense.
I think when I was watching the scene, my Star Trek brain was still going because I was like, haven't they solved like the economy and money and that does not exist? And I was like, right now, I just completely remembered. I was like, of course, this is not Star Trek. This is a whole other universe where the world is probably still not as great as it is in Star Trek.
Yeah, you could do that too, like door-to-door salespeople on Babylon 5. That could be a thing. That's hilarious.
I would watch that sitcom. That seems like a situational like office sitcom that I would watch.
Well, we're secretly just using this podcast as a way to cast our version of Below Decks for Babylon 5. So you're doing great so far, Jaina.
All right. And I got to ask the rule master that doesn't make the rules but makes the rules one more question. So in the middle of this scuffle where Garibaldi saves Ivanova, I do believe she hits one of the Drazi with her crutch. Does that count as a sucker punch?
No. That's all she has on the ground. You can't really get the upper hand if she's, going through that right now. No, this is not a sucker punch, Dre. I'm not going to give this one to you.
So, by the way, we get another Joss Whedon crossover in the next scene where the techno mages actually do what they're supposed to, which is Londo is back in his quarters. The lights are going haywire. He's telling Veer, they're forcing me to buy crypto. He's bought a bunch of shares of Firefly stock. Mike put the good joke in the script that it was canceled before season 1.
So, yeah, it wasn't worth anything anyway. It hadn't started yet.
Again, this is what technomages should be doing, right? Not bad CGI with this. But, yeah, he is getting kind of punished by the technomages for what he's doing. Makes complete sense. And then I think, I don't remember if this scene or later, but Veer's like, hey, maybe apologize. I might be jumping ahead, but that's the funny thing. Okay, moving along with green and purple. Here's the funny thing. Ivanova is like, this is so ridiculous. You have these scarves. If I just grab the leader scarf and put it on me, what does it do? And again, remains super prescient where they're going, well, you're the leader now. And she's like, but I'm not of your species. And they go, yeah, the Constitution was written forever ago. We can't amend it, or it takes forever to amend it. So what do? We don't really know what to do now. And so Ivanova's just like, cool, I'm your leader. We're going to stop killing, pretty
let's
clever.
Let's go dye all
end.
the scarves the same color. Yeah. Come on.
Yeah, I did like the little joke about bureaucracy. That joke still lands. Like that was a good one to have at that moment.
And super clever solution Ivanova is learning. I mean, we have a lot of character building in this episode.
Yeah, because Sheridan at the beginning was like, I'm going to throw you into this seemingly impossible problem that I don't want to deal with. Let's see if you can solve it. And she kind of outside of the box figures out a pat solution to it all.
We get that, and we're about to wrap up the Technomage one where Londo does go and apologize. We get a very weird prescient scene where Mr. Freeze does say, he has a vision for Londo. He says, I see a great hand reaching from the stars and like millions of voices screaming. And Londo's like, my subjects. And he goes, your victims. And I see a great hand reaching from the sky is used as a line in an intro in a future season. So I've heard that line so many times. Of course, just a great voice to say it. But,
just one of those motifs that he keeps using throughout, especially around Londo in a few different ways. The hand and his visions. Yeah.
Yeah. So Londo does half apologize, still is the bumbling buffoon because he kind of apologizes like, hey, but if you change your mind, and like we know, as Mike notes in the script, there's still like this bad CGI demon that has been doing stuff, and there's still one on Londo's back as he leaves. So it's like, the techno, and that, yeah, it's weird because it's hard to know how to play that, but I also think that sometimes with JMS, when he starts skirting too close to serious things or things that reveal too much of the plot, he tries to leave in slapstick or silly. And I do think it works as a distraction, but I think it does also sort of stick out.
Those gremlins just sent my mind spinning. So it's like, wait a minute. Okay, there's like these CGI, like fake gremlin holograms on his back, but they really went back and trashed his quarters and shit all over the place and left a smell, is what he implies. So what is the logistics? How long do these things last? I thought these were just like illusions.
And then it made me think about the techno mages as like pranksters a little bit, and I'm like, but they're meant to be like these all amazing beings and wise, and they have 14 words to like say I love you, and the 7 words to like to end you or something like that, and like little moments like that just made me think, but they're just playing stupid pranks on people. So are they these amazing beings, or are they just teenage pranksters? Please tell me, what are they meant to be?
That's what we were talking earlier. I just kept seeing them after that first viewing as, these are just like those magic guys that kind of hang out at the magic castle type things.
Well, I think they can easily be both. I do sometimes like the dichotomy of that is the super, Star Trek, you have, the Spock, the Vulcans. We're always serious. We're always doing this. And he, JMS will go like, they got layers, but sometimes it doesn't always play it. Sometimes it is always silly, and depending on how it's paired, right? If the CGI was better, their kind of pranks would seem a little more biting as opposed to just being like ridiculous. Sheridan does give them permission to take off, and I did briefly skip over one scene, but I would be remiss if we didn't get one more Mike Lou impression, which is Garibaldi comes back and he's like there for Lou, and he's just like, I wasn't thinking of coming back, but then I realized I'm awesome, and so I'm awesome, and so I'm back.
And he goes, hey, it's good to have you back too. I don't know, I'm spent.
Yeah.
We can still have feelings even though we're both guys here.
I kind of want, in my head, I kind of want every episode of Babylon 5 to end with them like sitting around that table at the bar or the restaurant or wherever they are. It's just like, it's a very sitcom-y vibe to it. It's like, let's recap and let's talk about what we've learned in the last episode. I just thought it was a little cheesy, but it was also kind of corny funny at the same time.
Yeah, they kind of half-assed that throughout the series, because I feel that do that just about 1 out of every 3 episodes has like the main crew all at the end sitting around. But JMS can't help, he loves having like the Lord of the Rings extra endings, even just the regular episodes. So there's a lot of extra tags on the end of a lot of these.
It's true, and they are funny. But and also, Mike, special guest Karen, who was on a few episodes ago, noted that you also run into a logistic problem on the station that these people should be on different shifts. So if you want them interacting, at a certain point, you do have to have it in a social context. Because if it's like, why are you all on the bridge right now? One of you needs to sleep. One of you needs to sign off. So it does make sense. But this episode does, interestingly enough, it does end with the techno mages leaving. We're kind of at the end. We can kind of wind down. Jaina, it seemed like you've said you did manage to get through it all, bumps and all, to say you are interested in watching more. We have proof in the pudding. You did watch at least one more episode.
Yes.
There we go.
I think I will. If I have some time to burn, I'm gonna see if I can grab DVDs of Babylon 5 from my local library and see if I can give it a real go.
Very cool. Yeah, just let us know. We'll let you know which ones to check out. We'd love to hear your thoughts, or maybe even have you back for like a recap towards the end of this series to see if that changed at all.
I'd love to. Or if I've just completely given up on it, like, I couldn't do it.
No, I didn't do it. I didn't even watch this one. I just want to come and talk. But yeah, anyway, we usually end by asking our guests, is there anything else that you think that our listeners or we should check out?
Ooh, that is a great question. I haven't started it yet, but the new season of Foundation has started, and I freaking love that show. It was very hard for me to get into at the beginning, but now I'm fully suckered into it. Fantastic sci-fi show. Very excited about the next season. It's like one of those, people say it's hard sci-fi, but it's one of the better sci-fi shows that ever. So that definitely check out.
Excellent. Where can we see that right now? Because I haven't been caught up with it all.
That is unfortunately on Apple Plus or whatever it's called. Everything's on Plus right now, I think, these days. But it's on Apple Plus right now. Great actors in it. Super amazing world building. And I never read any of the books, so obviously my perspective is just from the TV show. But it's a really good show. I'm very excited about it.
Very cool. Was there anything else that you want to plug at all? Anywhere else that listeners can check you out if they want to follow you? Or
unfortunately, I'm really boring. All I'm on is LinkedIn these days. I've kind of disappeared off of all of the other social media platforms bit by bit. I'm kind of on Instagram, so Jaina.Mistry on Instagram if you want to go and follow me there. But otherwise, just find me on LinkedIn, Instagram, and or just watch this episode, listen to this episode again, and you can meet me all over again.
Perfect plug. Yeah, well, you can find me Slatron in most places. Dre, you're out there as Nerd Numbers everywhere.
Nerd Numbers works, and I've got to give one other thing that is just hilarious. I'll say this. I have a friend known as Bimmy and Jimmy Out Fighting Crime. If you go listen to the Nerd podcast over at patreon.com/Jeff May, which is where you go if you want to help me and Mike produce more of this. And I routinely make fun of this friend for things he needs to watch. But one thing he has told me I need to watch is Foundation. And so now I'm going to laugh because I'm going to say, yeah, actually, I'm getting more people saying I need to watch Foundation. So you are the second person to tell me I need to check that out. So I'm going to need to go check out Foundation.
There's dozens of us.
We are Legion.
I count 2 so far, but...
Well, this is great to talk to you. Thank you so much for coming and joining us on the show.
I appreciate the invite. It's been fun. And it opened my eyes to Babylon 5, something I've been meaning to actually watch for a very long time. So give me a little push that I needed.
Excellent. All right, Dre. Well, I think that about wraps everything up.
All right. Only thing to tell the listeners, what do we have as our next episode to watch if people want to watch ahead?
Hunter Prey is the next episode we'll be covering. It's going to be the 13th episode of season 2.
So make sure to check out Hunter Prey episode 13. That will be our next episode to check up on. And we'll see who talks. We'll see how much they've watched. I am loving how much you got to check this stuff out. Thanks, everybody, for being here.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Cheers, everyone. Hello. I've been podcasting by myself in this room for the last 48 hours. Mike left me here. Is this what betrayal feels like? I will kill Mike Slater. I will kill Mike Slater. I will kill Mike Slater.